This is the QB command room where every week I rank all starting quarterbacks across the NFL based on their performance that week and the weeks previous that season. At the bottom, we have recruits.
I'm sorry, Mr. Handicap Man.
Sergeant, then captain, then colonel, then field generals, then commander-in-chief. And there can only be one commander-in-chief, 2 field generals, and 5 colonels. The rules are pretty simple. My name's Topher Léon. Let's jump into it. Now for our very first week 1 recruit class, here we are with Bryce Young, Spencer Rattler, Tua Tagovailoa, and Russell Wilson. These 4 players, they were absolutely atrocious. Russell Wilson couldn't even muster up any points, and he's a veteran. You got Bryce Young, who's just falling further and further down the trajectory of what everyone has for him. Spencer Rattler, I feel like there just isn't enough tape on him to really put him down, but at the same time, he hasn't really given us much to give us hope. And Tua Tagovailoa, he is truly on his last leg, his last concussion. It feels like he's got no influence on that offense. Tyreek Hill doesn't want to be there, and it feels like Mike McDaniels might be on the hot seat as well. So that whole organization, Tua situation, it's just trending negatively. Let me put it this way: by the end of this season, none of these 4 players will be starting on their team. Next up, we have sergeants, and this is where the most players in the NFL fall into, which is probably not the best thing, but it does feel like quarterback play isn't quite where it used to be. Drink your water. Now on this list, you're going to see Dak Prescott, Justin Fields, Joe Flacco, Drake May, Trevor Lawrence, Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix, Jared Goff, CJ Stroud, Sam Darnold, and Cam Ward. And all these players, they did just enough to keep themselves from being in the recruit class, as in they're not quite on the chopping block yet. Like Drake May, he didn't look good, but he didn't really look bad. And then you have Dak Prescott. When you look at statistically, he didn't even have 200 yards, but then when you consider the 4 drops CeeDee Lamb had, he might have had over 200 yards and maybe 1 or 2 more touchdowns. But more importantly, a W. And you're probably surprised to see Jared Goff be this low on the list, but if you look at his performance in the last 2 games, it's not like he's in the best place right now. And as most of us presume, he will bounce back, but there's no doubt that losing Ben Johnson will have at some level an impact on that team, and it's only a matter of time until things do bounce back out. But we could be in for a few rough outings while Goff figures out what life is like without his offensive guru behind him. Guru. Justin Fields had probably his best career game, but considering his career, I couldn't put him much higher than this because more than likely he'll regress to the mean the next game. But at the same time, if he puts 2 games together like that, he's going to get promoted. Bo Nix looked like the complete opposite player that we had seen last year. He looked lost. He looked behind. He just looked like he had no idea what Sean Payton wanted. And I'm assuming, again, he'll regress towards the mean, get a little bit better next game. But right now, not looking good. CJ Stroud being here feels kind of dirty considering just how bad his offensive line is, considering he's been pressured on 40% of his dropbacks. But at the end of the day, he hasn't really been playing well for over a year now, so we've got to hold him accountable. And lastly, Cam Ward, he is the #1 pick in the draft. So that being said, I couldn't put him down there as a recruit, but he didn't really do much to give us a ton of hope. But there were some flashes of brilliance and to make you realize why he was drafted so high, but we'll have to see what he does this next game. Joe Flacco is Joe Flacco. I mean, again, he played well today and he'll play horribly next week. Now we're moving up in the hierarchy a little bit. Now we're getting to the people with a little bit of skill, a little bit of talent, a little bit of repertoire, a little bit of command, you could say. First up for the captains is Daniel Jones. And I know what you're saying, Topher, you just said it's based on what the week was in the previous weeks. Well, I understand that. But at the same time, as a competent leader of this entire organization, this commission, I have to recognize that I can't in good conscience make someone like Daniel Jones, who's been just not very good, just promoted above a captain's level based off of 1 game. He keeps it up just like these other players, he'll get promoted. But right now, Daniel Jones, captain worthy. Kyler Murray was exactly who Kyler Murray is. He commanded his offense to get that win. He didn't look great. He didn't look terrible. Again, I've got faith in Kyler. We're going to leave him here. Geno Smith, per usual, steps up in the biggest moments and makes the biggest plays. And while it wasn't the prettiest game, he had a ton of yards, over 350. The man went into New England and hit all the passes he had to hit when he had to hit them. Baker Mayfield, for 3 quarters, looked like he was going to chill on that massive contract he just signed. But then in the 4th quarter, just as I told my mom, this is what Baker Mayfield does, relax, because she loves Baker. He then ripped off that game-winning drive, which reminded us, yes, he's Baker Mayfield, and that Bucs team is predicted to be in the Super Bowl by many people. Brock Purdy really makes me scratch my head because sometimes he just looks so good, and then other times it's like, what are you doing, my guy? It feels like he really does make some terrible passes at terrible times, and then out of nowhere, he just nails a pass that's like, okay. Maybe you're not terrible, but you're at least crazy, and that game-winning touchdown should have been an interception. So really, Brock Purdy, you're a captain for what you've done and how good I know you are, but right now I'm a little bit worried about you. You're trending towards, you're looking like a sergeant. And then finally, we have Joe Burrow and Pat Mahomes, and that is probably making you think, Chris, you have no credibility to talk sports anymore, but hear me out. Joe Burrow just looked atrocious. It's the Browns, who, again, they've got Myles Garrett, and that's a pretty good defense, but he looked bad, really bad, and they have an amazing offense. And we know they always start slow. It's their first win in a week 1 game since 2021, which is crazy. And the same can be said for Mahomes. He rushed for a lot of yards. He made some incredible throws. He really was putting it all out there. But again, just something seems off. Like there seems like There's some magic missing with Patrick, and it's just, I hope it comes back as an NFL fan because the league is better when he's popping off like these crazy throws, but at the same time, there's no lack of talent waiting to take up the mantle behind him. Almost every one of my channel's viewers is not subscribed to the channel. Do me a huge favor and hit that subscription button. We're trying to get monetized. My doggin'. Which then brings us into our next tier, which is the Colonel. Jaden Daniels, he's showing us why not every single player goes through a sophomore slump, something that Bo Nix is clearly suffering from. And by no metric did he have an insane game, but with Deebo Samuels there and him clicking on all cylinders, it feels like this Commanders team's gonna be really good. Again, now it feels like Lamar Jackson should be in the field general category, right? Because he's arguably one of the best 1 or 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the league. But after what happened Sunday and only being able to have 2 field generals at a time, it felt like Lamar Jackson, you're just not quite in that league right now. But again, a bounce back is possible. And while by no means is that loss on him, he played great. It's just that you just can't win and be in the first week's field generals category. Jalen Hurts continues to just win. I think this is now 16 games in a row he's won that he's finished, and that's remarkable. The question really is, what does this man have to do to be considered one of the best quarterbacks in the league? Well, why don't you ask yourself that, Chris? You're the one who didn't rank him that high. Well, I just need to see him win another Super Bowl. Now we're getting to the big boys, the field generals. And for the field generals, we have Aaron Rodgers and Justin Herbert. Now, before we start yelling at me, hear me out. Aaron Rodgers has had an amazing career, right? And he just had an Achilles tear at like, what, 40 years old? And towards the end of last season, those last 8 games, he really turned it on. And it's not like it's some secret that the more time that passes from that injury, the better, the more comfortable you're going to be. So if Aaron Rodgers is kind of coming into form and those Steelers, DK Metcalf, that catch and run, they're going to be a problem. And Aaron Rodgers, it feels like he doesn't really have to move much in that pocket to make that offense move. And then we have Justin Herbert, who on international television against a team that had everything to prove that the dynasty wasn't over, to prove that they're still hungry, that they still got it. They kind of showed that they might not have it anymore. I mean, Travis Kelce tried to literally take the soul away from Xavier Worthy. That was insane. And after Pat Mahomes did this last year, it makes you wonder, is there some type of bounty gate on their own team, like within the locker room? But Justin Herbert is a very peculiar situation because he's amazing. He's incredible. He has statistics that are up there with some of the greats in the starts of their career, but he has no playoff wins. So hear me out. This is Justin Herbert's year. He's been bottled up. That was weird. I meant like a... Okay, but Justin Herbert with Harbaugh behind him, it's gonna be a good year for the Chargers, as long as they can avoid injuries like we all know they've fallen to for the past 3 decades. And last but certainly not least, we have the Commander-in-Chief, Josh Allen, which should come as no surprise considering what he did in Buffalo on Sunday night against the Ravens in that fashion, in the way he did it, in the fourth quarter pretty much. It felt like 250 yards. That's insane. He has gotten better every single year, and just like we were saying about Justin Herbert, it feels like this might be his year to really push through and take it all the way because he is just on another level. His size, his leadership, his abilities, I mean, just everything about him is a mythical level. He's a mythic level weapon. And when you take into consideration his past, even though he's lost to Pat Mahomes, he's been at the top long enough, close enough that I think it's fair to say Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the NFL. All right, that's enough yapping. That was our first episode. Let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know what you would change. Let me know if you would alter anything to this format. I'm going to be releasing this every week. All right, I appreciate you guys. Hit that subscription button, turn on those notifications, and as always, go out there and do something great.